Being a DC fan seems to be very difficult. We have been through so many different situations where being a DC fan wasn't easy. And I think today, a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago that we could be stretching this to, the reason why it's such a hard time being a DC fan is because of other DC fans. Our fan base is so divided in ways that our fan base has not been divided before. Before, it was more so what Warner Brothers was doing to the brand of DC that made the fans hate what was going on within this company and within DC as a whole. Now, it's fans hating on fans for liking what certain fans want to like. There is fighting everywhere. Any social media platform, there is going to be DC fans attacking other DC fans. And yes, it all does stem from what Warner Brothers has done to this brand, but now it is getting insanely out of control. This entire franchise is so backwards, and this entire community is so damaged. I really don't know how we turn this around. And it's not saying that we can't turn this around at all, because we can, but it's more so, how do we turn this around now? How do we turn it around today? My answer is I don't know if we can turn it around today. I think we need a serious break from connected universes. Is right now the time to be a DC fan? Would I tell somebody who absolutely loves the idea of DC but has absolutely no knowledge of DC to get into the world today? Someone who is interested in this franchise and what they have to offer, would I tell them to go nosedive right into this community, start watching all the movies and become a fan? I don't think I would necessarily open the door for that person and say, hey, the world is yours, good luck in there, because actually luck is what you will need to survive as a DC fan. Say one little thing, say one word, like one thing that one director or one creator has chosen to do, and you will have 5 others who try to castrate you for liking what you like. Oh, you don't read comic books. You don't understand comic books. These type of people have to shut up, and it's those type of people who are really ruining this community. Now, don't get me wrong. Every fan base has their bad eggs. Every fan base has their issues. But the issues that the DC fan base is currently undergoing is on another level. Not many fan bases have this much infighting. The last fan base to have an issue like this, and still somewhat shares that issue, it's just I don't think as vocal as it used to be, is Star Wars. The Star Wars community, and I hate saying this word because it's such a trendy word now, but toxic, that is what the Star Wars community is. They were filled with gatekeepers from left to right. In Star Wars, if you said you liked one thing over another thing, you once again had 5 people who would go for your head and basically try to ridicule you for liking that one thing over this thing. I've mentioned many times in the Star Wars universe that my favorite thing about it is Jedis, Siths, and the Force. Yeah, sure, space battles are cool. Clone troopers, separatists, stormtroopers, rebels, those are cool. But at the end of the day, I watch it for lightsabers and the Force. After speaking my mind in what I liked Star Wars for, it brought so many people to my front door telling me, you can't just like that in Star Wars, you have to like everything. Well, no, I don't. That is one of many problems within the Star Wars community, but that is what is happening now with DC, and it's becoming violent. It's becoming terrible. When you look at the DC fan base, it is split across all the board. You have the fan base who wants the Snyder world. You have the fan base who wants the James Gunn world and is even praising James Gunn, and he hasn't even done anything yet. You have a fan base who just wants solo stories and just wants the Elseworlds DC projects. They don't want a connected universe. Then you have a DC fan base who loves DC but doesn't even care about the movies because they've lost complete hope and complete interest in it. The fan base is torn, and in my opinion, it's not in a repairable fashion right now. I think this is going to take time for the wounds to heal. For example, we have the Snyder fans and then the people who aren't the Snyder fans. Being a Snyder fan is one thing. You can appreciate and like the movies that he gave us. You have a lot of people who aren't Snyder fans who absolutely degrade not just the movies of Snyder, but they degrade the man Snyder is. They show it with hatred, and they degrade any person who simply just likes those movies. They attack these people on every level, and it makes no sense. This is a piece of hatred in the DC fandom that we don't need any part of. Then again, it goes both ways too. You have a small group of Snyder fans who are so passionate that they might take their passion a little overboard, and they boycott anything DC that isn't Snyder. And they maybe go a little too far with how important the Snyderverse very well may be to the DC universe. You can be a fan of something, you can be passionate of something, you can be passionate against something too, but it gets to the point where you hit a level where it's maybe just too far and too much. I consider myself a Snyder fan. Would I love to see his world continued? Would I love to see Zack Snyder finish his movies? I've stated many times before, yes. But I'm not going to boycott anything else coming from DC. I'm keeping an open mind regarding James Gunn. Am I very cautious? Yes, I am. But that doesn't mean I'm not willing to give it a chance, because I am. And we are in a situation with DC where if something is good, I will take anything we can get right now. But I think what a lot of this community needs to understand, Snyder fan or not, it's not like the people who are in support of Snyder's work wants world domination. They just want the story continued. That's it. It's almost like saying the MCU makes Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. Then they make the first Avengers movie and they end it on the Thanos reveal. And that is it for the MCU. I understand some people may be like, look, I didn't like Snyder's work. This isn't a big deal for me. But you gotta see it from the eyes of people who did like his work. How heartbreaking is it that we're not going to get a story completed? Once again, it's not like Zack Snyder's world was going to continue much longer. He only had 2 more movies he wanted to do, and then he would have been happy to let Warner Brothers do their reboot and do whatever they wanted for the future. At least his vision was completed. I mean, if you were to go all over social media and pinpoint certain people in the DC fan base or just the comic superhero fan base in general, there are so many people who have open minds to all of this stuff and respect everybody for liking what they like in DC. But you also have a massive amount of people who don't just gatekeep, but absolutely try to obliterate the person you are for liking what you like and for supporting what you want. There are some vile people in this fan base and any other fan base in general, but it's never been as bad as it is today with DC. One person that comes to mind is that scumbag of the earth, Casey Walsh. Absolute terrible person in every way. Some of the things he says about people and the way he speaks awful human being. That's what I'm talking about, though. That is what we're dealing with in DC around all corners today. We're getting too violent. This fan base is not fun to be a part of like it used to. Before, the main enemy was Warner Brothers. But now it's Warner Brothers and any other piece of the fan base who doesn't share your opinions. Opinions used to be taken in high regard, and now it absolutely isn't. I like that Superman had to battle between his godlike powers and his humanity. Oh, well, you don't understand comic books. Okay. I really like Matt Reeves' Batman. He was a little more emo, kept to himself. He was very quiet. It was a really grounded version of him. Well, you don't read or understand comic books. Hashtag fake fan. It's ridiculous. It's getting out of hand. It's brutal. After the whole Justice League debacle with Joss Whedon, 2018, 2019, 2020, I feel like we were in a breaking point, but the bridge hasn't snapped in half yet. We were still holding it together, pulling the beams together so that it could stay upright. 2021, it feels like we were almost completely tying the knots and pulling it together. 2022, we had good moments and bad moments, but overall, it just feels like at the end of last year and so far the beginning of this year, the bridge has completely broken in half and we're all sinking beneath the river. It is getting so bad right now. And it's to the point where you cannot have an opinion without a different thinking DC fan absolutely hating you for what you like. Dude, you like what you like. Get over it. Here's the thing about comic book accuracy. Comic book accuracy is only accurate to the specific comic book that you are trying to work with. There are thousands of different versions of our favorite characters that have been written and dealt with over the years. There is no right or wrong answer. There's just the creative mind behind the decision. Sure, if there's something I don't like, I don't agree with it. But I'm not going to hate that decision because it's not my vision. I may not like it to the point where it's just like, I don't really care to watch it, but that's me. There are millions of other people who might feel differently about that. And like at the end of the day, these are just comic books. They're just movies. And people have treated this as if it's war. These are comic books. This is supposed to be fun. It's past brutal. It's beyond that point. It's disgusting at this point. And I don't think there's any fixing it right now. Once again, is it a time to be a DC fan? I don't know. Personally, amongst yourself, sure, go for it, be a fan. But if your goal is to dive into this community, I don't think it's a great time to do so at all. It's terrible in this place. It used to be a situation where you could speak your mind and have an opinion, and sure, you'd have a couple of people who are like, you're stupid, this is ridiculous, but those voices were so minuscule that you were capable of tuning it out and being like, whatever, I don't care. Nowadays, you can't, because the voice of hatred towards you is so much higher than it ever has been. For the rest of this year, for the entirety of 2024, and then 2025 when we're supposed to get James Gunn's Superman movie, what is this fan base going to look like? How much crazier is it going to get from here? Because I can 100% tell you the fan base will not get much better. You have the rest of 2023 to get rid of all of these DCEU projects. Then 2024 is a down year. There's a break. There's nothing coming out other than a couple shows, I believe. And then 2025, you're hit hard with a Superman movie. You could say, 2024 is our breather year. We can all take that downtime, relax, chill, and then move forward the next year into a new DCU. It's not enough time. 1 year, 1.5 year, it's not enough time to repair this fan base. I think we need to look at a 5 or 6 year hiatus. And I am going to have this opinion until there are clear decisions in Warner Brothers and DC that prove me wrong. I will probably keep saying this until 2025. If that Superman movie comes out and ends up being damn good, then I'll change my tone. I was wrong, and I can admit to that. But right now, I don't feel that way, and I feel like we need a big break. That's the problem with today. There's no stoppage. It's just go, go, go. We don't get a break with anything anymore. And this doesn't give enough time for people to just relax, pump the brakes, and just get a detox for a little while. We don't get that in any fandom today. That's why a lot of us are getting burnt out. And with the fan base that DC has, it's making this burnout even worse. James Gunn is inheriting the DC world in a terrible, terrible time. Like I said, we are in all different corners and avenues of DC. And whatever corner you're in, you tend to hate the other corner or that corner or this corner. You hate anybody who's not in your corner. Unless you're capable of sitting here and being in the middle and respecting all avenues. But that's not a big amount of us. Not many people are capable of doing that in the climate DC is currently in. Superman needs to be a hit. It needs to make money for this DCU to continue, right? And of course, people are going to see this movie because finally it's a new Superman movie and it's James Gunn. He has his own little fan base as well. But I would argue how many people will go and see it. Once again, you have to keep in mind the amount of people who don't even care about DC movies anymore. There are actually a lot of people who don't. You also have to keep in mind the hardcore Snyder fans who feel absolutely betrayed and won't want to support something new because we already had a great Superman and Henry Cavill as it was. Then you're gonna have the people who are just getting so tired and confused with the reboots that they don't care anymore. Then you're gonna have average audiences who are gonna think to themselves, I don't want to have to go through another reboot. Wait, is that what's going on? Is this another reboot? Is this in Snyder's world? Is this in the DCEU? What's going on here? The confusion is going to be huge. You're also going to have a ton of people who are going to sit here and say to themselves, right now with the time we're in, do I want to have to go through another 8 to 10 year buildup for another universe? We just got through this with Marvel. Do we want to do this with DC again? And look what's already happening in the fan base right now. You have trust being lost because of how many people are losing their job even though they were good in the role they had. You have people who are like, James Gunn is a liar and he's lying about so many things. He's keeping his toys but he's throwing everybody else's out. This was supposed to be a hard reboot, but is it? Is it a soft reboot? What type of reboot is this? It is just a ton of confusion, and I think out of that confusion, a ton of interest is going to be lost by a lot of people. It's something I've been seeing over the past couple of months, and it's really hit me hard over the past couple of weeks. I had to make a video about this. Overall, it's just very unfortunate. We have finally received a plan for a DC universe that we've never really had in DC before. During a time like that, we should all be uniting together. But unfortunately, this community and this franchise has been damaged so much that it's just not possible. And even with a DCU plan, it's not enough to bring everybody on board. There are, of course, people who are in support of this plan and can't wait to see it. There are a lot of people like me, though, who are very cautious and don't have the brightest hopes for the future. But then there are a lot of people who are completely against this and are even out on it before it even begins. So is it it time to be a DC fan? Is it time for you to get into this DC community and experience all its rich history and meet a bunch of new DC fans alike? Maybe not right now. And to be honest with you, if your hope was to become a DC fan and to have everybody love a new member and have everybody appreciate what you like, well, you're certainly not going to get that. And I think we need to take a solid hiatus. We need to take a real break from DC movies and a new DCU. We need time for this brand to heal and for this community to heal. That will not happen by a couple of decisions. That will not happen in 1 month. That will not happen in 1 year. We need time. But that's just how I feel about this situation. That's just how I feel about the fan base. Now it's your guys' turn to let me know in the comments below what you think about the fan base, how bad you think it is, and if you think it's going to get any worse or any better from here. But that is all I got for you on this one, everyone. So until next time, I will talk to you all very soon.